Envoy on Youth, Jayatma Vikra Manayake, gathered young climate change makers. Thank you for inviting me to speak at the Youth4Climate event focused on driving local action. I believe that young men and women are one of the most important demographics to take action in tackling the climate challenge we face. In cities and towns around the world, young people have shown how climate action should be a priority on the global agenda. Since 2019, more than 13 million young people have highlighted their capacity to mobilize for climate action locally through projects such as the Fridays for the Future movement. They have shown their great impact on the international community following the global climate strike held at the UN General Assembly in New York. They have been able to attract the attention of local, national, and international authorities as well as civil society, and thanks to the effectiveness and intensity of their climate and social justice actions. Most of these youth live in capital or secondary cities, with estimates suggesting that cities are responsible for 75% of the global CO2 emissions. Therefore, to achieve the SDGs and create more sustainable and greener human settlements, I call upon youth to revisit the commitments we made when formulating the new Urban Agenda 2030 and to redouble our efforts to make our cities and communities cleaner towards a healthy, resilient, zero-carbon recovery. Climate change is a threat multiplier that exacerbates many of the pressures that cities and towns are already facing. Climate change directly affects the availability, quality, and access to ecosystem, resources, and services in cities such as water and food. It also exacerbates competitions for land, energy, and infrastructure, leading to a sharp increase in inequalities, social conflicts, and strong pressures on governments and societies. The COVID-19 crisis has shown how cities are particularly vulnerable to the social, economic, and environmental effects of climate change. Youth actions through the local climate action is much needed, as it is the future generation that will live with weakening of resources and the impacts of climate change. They are therefore key actors for positive change in our cities and human settlements, which is why at UN Habitat, we put them at the heart of our strategies and programs. One example of youth-driven action which demonstrates the power of youth is youth response to COVID-19 crisis. UN Habitat has supported youth-led groups in informal settlements to establish COVID-19 prevention stations, which by International Youth Day have completed over 2.5 million hand washes, distributed 7,500 masks, and created murals to communicate COVID-19 preventions. This youth-led COVID-19 initiative has been nominated for the 2020 Secretary General Awards in the Innovation category. We know it is important to encourage this initiative designed and implemented by young people and support them in upscaling their facilitation, communication, and mobilization capacities. We have recently launched a program called Youth Climate Changemakers in partnership with UNEP and the British Columbia Institute of Technology in Canada in order to support these young people with current knowledge, capacity building, and leadership skills. We particularly encourage climate action by young women around the world. They have demonstrated their leadership skills by taking the lead in the strike movements. For the first UN Habitat Assembly in May 2019, we hosted the Young Women to Women panel that brought together an intergenerational panel of young and senior women working as environmental and sustainable urbanization practitioners to discuss how to engage women globally. Working in partnership with UNEP, the roundtable was reconstituted at the UN Climate Change Conference COP25, where we discussed how to take action against climate change. Lia Namugarwa, a young climate change maker from Uganda, when asked about her dream for the future during this panel, she stated, quote unquote, "I need every Ugandan, African, and every person to understand the influence he or she has on climate change and the influence climate change has on her or him. I want to see a generation that cares about our planet," unquote. Roundtables members such as Zille Bastida from Mexico made an important link between climate change and social justice, and she stated that you cannot address the climate crisis without talking about justice and environmental racism. She made a call for justice for indigenous people who are being displaced from their traditional lands by the climate crisis and unchecked development. The engagement of young people in climate action allows global and local priorities to intersect. UN Habitat, with its goal to facilitate the implementation of the new Urban Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, is in a unique position to partner with the young people, the UN family, the private sector, and civil society to address the local and global dimensions of climate action. As I have said many times, we want to work with you to change the impossible to I am possible. I know if we work together, we can drive local action and stop climate change, making the cities and the world a healthier and more prosperous to live. Thank you.